Hi everyone, my name's Matt and I'm one of the careers advisors here at York St John University. I wanted to put together this short video for our alumni community. I'm actually an alum as well, so I attended York St John between 2010 and 2013, studied English language and linguistics. So as an old John and former student and a current member of staff, a really warm welcome from me today. I wanted to spend a couple of minutes talking to you about the pandemic that we find ourselves in at the moment and the impact on the labour market. I know that a lot of friends and acquaintances have been facing furlough at the moment or potential redundancy. So I thought it'd be a really great idea, in collaboration with the alumni team at York St John, to put together a short video of top tips if you are facing redundancy or not sure what your next steps might be. So my first tip is try not to panic. Now I know saying not to panic or not to worry is like telling water not to be wet. Of course you're going to feel some worry if you're facing redundancy, but try to focus on what's in your control. So what I'd recommend is sitting down, thinking quite practically of the jobs that you would need to do or things on your list that you need to accomplish or consider, and make a list of everything that's in your mind. That will stop you from worrying or thinking too much and sort of getting trapped in your own mind. To get it down on a piece of paper, to know exactly what you need to do, and set yourself some goals to achieve those things on your list, and keep yourself accountable for those things as well. Although the initial news that you are at risk of redundancy or being made redundant may be a real worry at that time, try to focus on the positives of the situation, that this could be a really great time for you to consider other opportunities, other sectors or other roles that you ordinarily wouldn't have had time to think about or consider. And maybe you can think about a career change or exploring those new roles further. My second tip is to take some time to consider your own professional development. So whether this is a time where you could reflect on your strengths and how you'd like to continue developing those, or whether there are areas for development or gaps in your knowledge that you'd like to fill around a particular role or particular sector, this can be a really good way to do that and to engage in professional development activities. One way that York St John University can support you to do this is through the digital training team, and that's undertaking the Microsoft Office Specialist qualifications. What that will do is help you to, one, develop your knowledge of Microsoft Office, so for example, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and basically allow you to demonstrate your competency within those programs with an accreditation. This is free of charge to all our alumni community, and if you want any more information on this particular offer, contact digital training at yorksj.ac.uk. Now my third tip would be to consider developing a LinkedIn profile. Now some of you may be active and using LinkedIn, but some of you may have never heard of LinkedIn before. LinkedIn is a little bit like a professional version of Facebook, where you keep in touch with local and national and international organisations and really use it to develop your professional network. So there are several ways that LinkedIn can support you during this time. The first is LinkedIn Jobs, which is just another really great place to look for vacancies that are currently being advertised. The second is a way to develop your professional network. So whether you're interested in reaching out to individuals who work in similar roles to get insight, or whether you'd like to keep your finger on the pulse for industry developments so that you can demonstrate your commercial awareness within your really high quality applications, that's a really great way to do that. And then finally, it's a really good way of reaching out to our alumni network. So we've got between 16 and 18,000 alum on the LinkedIn platform. So it'd just be a case of searching for the York St John University LinkedIn page, clicking on the Alumni tab, and you can search by keyword, you can search by course, you can search by sector to be connected with individuals that studied at York St John that may be able to give you insight, advice and support in getting into a particular sector. My fourth tip is to try not to apply for just anything. I think it's really tempting when you are out of work to apply for anything and everything to show your willingness and your determination to get back into the workplace. But in doing this, what will happen is you will fatigue yourself because you're submitting so many applications for jobs that perhaps that you don't particularly care about or want. And then secondly, the overall quality of your applications will drop because it's that quality versus quantity, isn't it? So when you do find a role that you are really interested in, you might not submit the best quality application. So what I would suggest is that you sit down, and I do recommend a cup of tea when you do this. Sit down and map out what it is that you want. So what kind of employer do you want to work for? What hours do you want to work? What is the minimum salary that you could accept? What are your values? What drives you? What kind of working environment would you like to work in? And get a really good idea of your own self-concept. The next thing I would do is make a list of all the roles that you come across that interest you. That could be from job sites, it could be from search engines, it could be from LinkedIn jobs, as we've mentioned, and get a really good idea of what roles are out there. What I'll then do is consider each role in turn and reflect back on that self-concept we talked about before. So what is it that we want? And which of these roles can actually give us this? Which of these roles are we actually interested in applying for? Once you've whittled down that list, you can start applying with a tailored CV and a tailored cover letter. Really, you should be tailoring your cover letter each time that you apply for a different role. Or it may be that you need to fill in an online application and a supporting statement. And what you're aiming for is to look at the person specifications for those roles and outline your eligibility and supporting that with your experience. We as a career service can support you with checking those applications as well. One extra tip is to keep an Excel spreadsheet or a list of the roles that you're applying for, just so you can keep track of what you've submitted, what you need to submit, and when you haven't heard back from an employer as well. And if you haven't heard back in maybe 2 to 3 weeks after the deadline, don't be afraid to ring the employer and chase up. If you're a little bit unsure or would like some support, my final tip would be to book an appointment with a careers advisor. Career support from York St John is for life. And we can support with lots of things from CVs, cover letters, interview prep, all those general conversations about careers advice and guidance and where to turn from here. If you've got any questions about anything that I've talked about today, you can get in touch with us at careers@yorksj.ac.uk. I hope this video has been useful in giving you some tips on where to start, but if you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch and we'll be really happy to help.